Hey guys, Hermdo back with you. I thought I'd switch things up a little bit, and let me put my sunglasses on for this so I look nice and cool. Anyways, I know I talk a lot about the economy, a lot about how people are fucked. I want to try to get away from that kind of stuff. I know that kind of misery sells. People love being told things are fucked. People love being told there's nothing you can do. People love like this weird feeling of desperation. I want to get away from that. I'm trying to find some helpful financial advice. I know a lot of people out there are struggling financially. And so I looked over a couple TikToks. We're just going to go over them and check this stuff out. These seem to have pretty good advice in them, but I just wanted to share them with you guys. Let's get into it. This one is from Braden Fulcrum. Excuse me. He's got 3 tips for basically getting yourself out of debt, or just like basically, managing your finances in a more intelligent way.
3 things in your finances you should be doing in 2024. If I was to tell someone to just focus on 3 things this year if they're starting from ground zero, here are my 3 pieces of advice. First one, you can never outinvest consumer debt. So many people carry credit card debts or personal loans or all this other consumer debt with interest rates of 12, 15, 28%, and they carry a balance on it, but then they have investments and they're trying to invest. It makes 0 sense. So get out of consumer debt as soon as you can. If you want more advice on that, look into the snowball method, the avalanche method. There's tons of ways to get you out, but it is so important to get out of consumer debt. Point number 2, open up a high yield savings account. It is free money for your survival fund. A high yield savings account is just like a normal savings account. The difference is it will pay you 4.5% to 5% right now. So instead of losing money to inflation like a normal savings account, you'll actually keep up with inflation or beat it slightly, so your survival fund doesn't disappear. Instead, it's actually making you money. And point number 3, buy a stock this year. If I was to really give you a suggestion, it'd be in a Roth IRA. There are income limits, there are contribution limits. Do your research, but most people just need to buy their first stock so they figure it out. The barrier to entry to investing is buying the first stock. And so if I can get you through that in 2024, we're looking up from here on out. If you're looking for more advice on how to grow.
Okay, let's look at his points point by point. But basically, these are some strategies I found to pay off credit card debt. This is from nerdwallet.com. How to get out of credit card debt. Make a plan to stay on top of payments. Pay more than the minimums on your credit card bills. Credit card issuers give you a monthly minimum payment, often around 2% of the balance. Remember, though, banks make money off the interest they charge each billing period. So the longer it takes you to pay, the more money they make, and the more you end up paying. Now, you got to pay attention to the interest rates on these credit cards. You can pay, like, say you owe like $5,000 in debt, and you have a high interest payment, like over 20%. You could pay that back, making minimum payments for like 2 or 3 years, and pay like $4,000, $4,500 of it back just in interest alone. You barely even take the principal down at all. That's how I got stuck with a credit card. My credit card limit was even higher. But yeah, the average amount of credit card interest being paid is high as a result of Federal Reserve rate increases and rising amounts of revolving credit card debt. Look on your credit card bill for a minimum payment warning, which will have a table showing how long it would take to pay off your balance if you paid only minimums and how much interest you pay. So yeah, you can work with your debtor a little bit. You can call the credit card company, and if you need some kind of help with this kind of thing, you can't be afraid to like communicate with these people and try to open like some kind of back and forth between them and find out better strategies to do that kind of stuff. But here's some more strategies. The debt snowball method of paying down your debt uses the sense of accomplishment as motivation. You organize your debts by amount and focus on wiping out the smallest one first while paying minimums on the rest. When you paid off the debt, you roll that payment into the amount you're paying towards the next smallest debt, and so on. Like a snowball rolling down a hill, you'll gradually make bigger and bigger payments, ultimately eliminating your debt. Use the debt avalanche method. Similar to a snowball approach, the debt avalanche method starts with listing your debts. But instead of paying your credit card with the lowest balance first, you pay off the card with the highest interest rate. It can be faster and cheaper method than the snowball method. Automate your credit card payments. Now, this can be hard to do sometimes if you don't have money in your account. I understand it, but you just got to stay on top of this shit, man. You got to just get on it. Automating your payments is an easy way to make sure your debts are being paid so you avoid racking additional costs and late fees. If you're neurodiverse and struggle with forgetfulness or procrastination, automating your payments can be especially helpful. If you're practicing the debt snowball or debt avalanche approach, however, you will have to be a little more hands-on and make sure you're contributing exactly what you want to each account. before you automate your payments. Make sure that you have a steady enough cash flow to avoid overdraft charges. I'm not going to go over all of these right here. It's quite a long article, but work with your credit card issuers. Explain your situation to them. They might be able to work with you a little bit. Explore debt consolidation. Look into 0% balance transfer cards. I'm going to post this in the description below, just so you guys can read through this. If you're struggling with credit card debt like I do, there's some good advice in here. But high yield savings accounts, that's right. Like, you could put like $1,000 in the bank, and if it's at a 5% growth, you could have $1,050 in a year. Normal bank accounts barely have that. They have like a percentage of a percentage. I had a savings account. It was like 0.05%. Like, you make like $5 in like 5 years or something. It's bullshit. But but yeah, there are some drawbacks to a high yield savings account. Variable interest rates. Interest rates can change at any time, which can affect your return. Limited growth. The yield may not keep up with inflation, so it's not ideal for long-term wealth building. Fees and minimum balance requirements. Some accounts have minimum balance requirements, while some have fees. Withdrawal limits. Some accounts limit how much withdrawals you can make per month and how much you can withdraw at once. Lack of physical locations. Many high-yield savings accounts are offered by online-only banks, so you can't visit a branch in person. High yield savings and investment risk. High yield savings accounts are subject to investment risks, including possible loss of principal. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying high yield savings are a bad idea, but you got to keep this kind of stuff in mind. But also with the buying stocks thing, there's a ton of investments you can make. There's a ton of apps on here. SoFi, E-Trade, Charles Schwab. You can talk to your boss, get a 401k, get like a matching 401k, or talk to like a financial advisor. I got a financial guy. I'm broke as shit, but even I toss him a few bucks, when I can. He was like one of my dad's. He was like my dad's financial advisor. So, if you know somebody, ask around work, ask people around, talk to people online even, and get with like a guy who can manage an IRA with you. You can roll over your 401k into it. You can toss like 5, 10, 15% of your income in there every month to save up for retirement. Just stuff like that. It's helpful, just to know. It's a good feeling to know, hey, I'm putting a little bit away just, for a rainy day. You gotta keep on top of this stuff. That's my basic premise here. All right, next up we got Dave Ramsey. I know he's a boomer, he's a rich boomer, and he wants you to eat rice and beans and wisely invest your money and stop getting Grubhub. I know we hate him, but this is just a quick blurb from him, and I'm going to expound on it a little bit. It's about budgeting, and I think he makes some good points here.
I'll guarantee you this: 95% of you listening to me right now do not do a unique written budget every month unique to that month. Almost no one does. Those that do, however, find all kinds of money that's being lost.
Okay. It's the simplest thing to write a budget. Get yourself a ledger. There's a ton of apps. If you have Microsoft Excel, you can do this too. Write down your expenses every month. I got to get better at doing this myself. But write down your expenses every month. Your health insurance, groceries, rent, all that stuff. Keep it in like a ledger. Discuss your food budget too. Food is a big thing. That happens to be something I agree with some of these boomer finance guys on. People spend way too much money buying food when they can meal prep, they can do all this other stuff. But there's some, a ton of budgeting apps here. Monarch Money, Better Than Mint, apps to manage finances. Let's look at that. Here's some from Forbes Advisor. You got Monarch here. You got Quicken. Collaborate with a financial advisor. Unlimited customizable goals. Ability to share with your partner. Get 50% off your first year. Quicken, Simplify. Always know what you've got left to spend or save. Just stuff, easy stuff to use. Let's look at some of this Reddit advice here. Want to start budgeting? What's the best free budget app? I'm over here. But after discovering that, what's the best free budgeting app that can visually show me everything that's coming in and everything that's going out? After discovering that we are in what I believe a significant amount of credit card debt, I want to start budgeting for the first time in my 37 years of life. Never really felt the need because we were doing just fine, but the last few years has gotten way worse financially. As I known for the majority of other Americans, I would like to use a budgeting app that has a good visual representation of what's coming in, what's going out, and what can be budgeted for specific categories. Let's move that over there a little bit. read a couple of these. But yeah, you're going to have to start doing this kind of stuff. I know, like, back, I was never using these budgeting apps. I was never doing this kind of stuff. But hey, I'm kind of learning this stuff along with you guys. So, but I was making decent money a few years ago, and then things just started turning to shit. I got laid off, and then the pandemic happened, and then all this other shit happened. Like the job market kind of just froze up on me. Happens to millions of other Americans. But let's look at some of the replies here. Separate budgeting comment. I highly advise adding a Life Hurts budget item at $100 a month. Cover those unplanned $500 to 100 random expenses that pop every 6 months to a year on average. We call this a slush fund, and it's helped us immensely with our budget of unplanned shit. My term is contingency expense. There's always some unplanned shit spend we can't avoid. I track everything in a spreadsheet, spend a few minutes once a week going through the cards and logging everything. Consider myself a freak in the sheets. Oh, God, these stupid. All these dumbass Reddit comments, I swear to God. But here's another Reddit advice thing. I live in the U.S. and keep seeing ads for Rocket Money and Mint. Anyone have advice on which app the ones listed or not is best? I'm not looking to pay a subscription either, so something free to keep track of things isn't what I'm after. Would love to hear some success stories if possible. Copilot Money has delivered for me since I left Mint and Personal Capital. I'm actually going to tack on a top reply and give you the following points to consider. Wrote this for another sub, so pasting here. I've tried many of the tools, and here's what I think. Tools I've tried: Mint, now defunct or whatever, YNAB, Copilot Money, Banktivity, Actual. But I've realized many of these are post-spend tracking apps that are not true budgeting apps, except YNAB and Actual. And for full disclosure, I've been using YNAB, paying out of my pocket for 8 years or so at this point. Most of other ones don't reflect reality. A lot of the budgeting sense, for example, Mint, Copilot, Banktivity, have budgeting capabilities built in with rollovers, but they are very disconnected from reality. I could, for a start, assign 1 million USD to groceries for a month, and it would make no difference to those apps whether I actually had 1 million USD to assign that place or not. What they do is intelligently categorize and track how much of that 1 million USD you spend on groceries and how much you have left. I'm not going to get into this whole big thing here, but I think there is some solid advice in here. But just, keep this kind of in mind. I'll post a link to this Reddit thread in my comment section as well, just so you guys can kind of read it, look through it. I think there's some good advice in there. Reddit is a good resource. I know the site gets a bad rap. I know a lot of goofy man-children are on there, but I think there's some good advice in there. I think there's some stuff in there that's worth looking at. But let's move on to the next video. Okay. All right, here's another... Hang on. All right, here's another short video with some extra tips. It's kind of saying the same kind of stuff, but I want to expound on this a little bit as we go, and kind of get a little more in depth into what he's saying as best I can.
One, learn the language of money. You walk into a room and everybody is speaking a totally different language. You're gonna be okay, listen, the room is not for me, let me get on out of here.
Yeah, I kind of understand what he's saying. It sounds like finance bro kind of alpha male guru advice. You gotta learn the language of money, bro. You gotta know what that means. But like, you should research what these terms are. Like, what's a mutual fund, what's a derivative, what's a bond, that stuff. I'm trying to learn this stuff myself as well, but just learning some of these basic terms, what they mean. When you start investing, you can be a little bit more educated, understand, make the proper investments, buy the right stocks and stuff like that. You kind of have to do some research in this kind of stuff. And, you got to know basically what you're talking about. You should get educated on this stuff. I think more Americans need to be educated on what these words mean, what these terms mean, as far as financial and stock tips go. There has to be alternative means to start saving money. You got to start putting something away. You should be investing in some things, but as long as you're doing it responsibly. There's some stuff like crypto. There's other stuff. Other people have all these other weird side hustles and stuff. They're like drop shipping and shit. I don't know about any of that. I'd rather just do it the safe way. Personally, that's just my view on things. But let's get into some more what he's talking about.
In order for you to have a chance of mastering your money, you first got to learn the language. 2, create a budget. Most people in life don't necessarily create a game plan for their lives. And then finally,
we talked about that. We talked about the budget. Just to kind of expound on that a little bit more. It's just basically if you sat down and wrote down what you're spending a month and what's coming in a month, what's going out a month, all your sources of income and whatnot, you'd be surprised how much money you're probably not spending. Like after you get all your bills paid, like me, I get paid every 2 weeks. So I gotta be careful. I get all my bills out of the way first thing first. If I'm late at anything, I pay that off. I had some medical debt. It was only like $85, but I made sure to pay that off. And then I look at my account now and I was like, okay, I got like $400 left for the next 2 weeks, $200 a week. I can budget that. I can set like a certain amount I'm going to spend, like set a certain amount you're going to spend every day. Like I don't want to spend more than $20 a day if I can avoid it. And there's other stuff, you'll buy like cigarettes or Zyn or vapes and stuff. And you got to think to yourself, do I really need this shit? You got to make some more efforts. Think about the stuff, or just like go out and do like a regular day of spending. Like go out and, what are you buying? Are you getting McDonald's? Are you swinging by picking up some cigarettes? Are you picking up a vape? Are you going to the mall and picking up a new hat or something? This was expensive, by the way. But just like, what's your average day look like? Because chances are all these little expenses you buy, whether you're buying sunglasses or a taquito at the gas station or some shit, like $10 here, $17 here, $15 here. You could spend like $70, $80 in a day and not even realize it. You got to keep on top of this stuff. You got to just get apps. What I do, I get apps for my bank account and I check that a couple times a day just to make sure I'm not spending anything stupid, or it just like write down what you spend somehow. There's like notepad apps in your phone. You can just type in, okay, I spent $10 on a pack of cigarettes. Write that down in your like little ledger. You gotta just stay on top of this kind of stuff. I'll total it all up. Total it all up, or at least keep a track on it. Just like, okay, well, I bought a couple things totaling about $20. How much more do I want to spend? Or I don't want to spend that money. And sometimes you're just like, screw it. I'll put it, I got enough money to last me for a while, but you can't have that attitude. You got to be like, okay, I got to be careful. I got to be careful and take things slow. I know Americans, we love buying shit. We love to buy our shit, but basically you just can't anymore. I hate to say it, but you just got to be smart. If you want any hope of like retiring, if you want any hope to get out of debt, you just got to be responsible. And you got to take the initiative, But anyways, he says something else at the end here.
You got to pay down debt. There's a lot of us who are skipping to investing.
Yeah, that's true. Paying down debt, getting out of debt is the biggest thing. I'd say pay off your debt before you even invest in a high yield savings account. Make sure you got that on lock. Make sure you're taking care of that shit. Don't get into more debt. People pile these credit cards on, and it's easy for me to say, I don't have much. I have debt I'm managing, but I went through a credit card company. It's like a settlement company, and they settled my $10,000 credit card debt for like $7,300. I'm paying them $300 a month. They're taking care of two credit cards for me. One's a big credit card, the other one's a small credit card. But I'm getting that. We reached the settlement with it. I'm paying it off $300 a month. It's a pain in the ass. I got a budget. Plus, I'm spending about $100 on my other credit cards. So I'm spending like $400 a month just covering my credit cards, and that's bad. But I'm gonna have to pay that for another 2-3 years just to get out of debt. It's tax season. You got some money coming. I know some people. I know one of my coworkers. He got his tax refund back. He said he paid his credit card off. I don't know. But I know plenty of other people just like, I'm going to buy a PS5. I'm going to buy a new set of sneakers. I'm going to buy, this guy showed me this thing at work. It's like a dab rig. It's like an electronic dab rig. It cost him like $420. Not this kind of dab, but like, like something like you put weed concentrate in there and basically you kill like half your brain cells at once. But just stupid shit like that. You don't need to be buying that kind of shit. But you get this money and you just think you're on top of the world. I can spend. I sold my trailer last year. I had a few $1,000. I paid a couple bills and paid stuff like that. And then I was just buying shit willy-nilly. I was spending like $300 on like Carhartt jackets and shit. I'm just like, wait a minute. and then that money was gone. I'm just like, oh fuck, I was being an irresponsible asshole. You can't be doing that shit. You got to save some money, put some money in your savings account, put it in some other account, make sure you're just not touching that shit. You gotta have to just get this materialist consumerism shit out of your body. Okay, this is Caleb Hammer, in case you guys don't know. I'm sure maybe some of you have seen his financial advice and stuff like that on TikTok or on YouTube. He does these shows, basically sits down with people for like an hour, hour and a half, and basically yells at them about their stupid expenditures. But here's a nurse who makes $9,000 a month and is somehow still broke. But let's just get into this. We're going to have a little bit of fun, laughing at other people's shitty financial situations.
Been a good month. $9,000 at 20?
I feel
How's
so
that?
behind in life.
You make so much fucking money. You know why you feel behind at your age? Because you're being a dumb piece of... with your money.
That's 6 figures.
2 Jaguars at 19 and 20? That's...
I just want to say, I know a guy at work. He just started working. He drives like a new Jaguar. And it's like, bro, you're making like $22 an hour. It's like this beautiful car. Don't get me wrong. It's a very nice car. But it's like, bro, what are you doing? Maybe he bought it used. I know those cars depreciate fast. But still, dude, do you really need that shit? But me, it's just like, my car cost $1,000. I don't give a shit, but it's just like, bro, you just got to be. I hear all these stories all the time. People making like 30, 40 grand a year. They buy like a $30,000 car. It's like, dude, I talked about this before in one of my older videos, but it's just like, man, that shit's crazy. Let's get back into the video.
Stupid. I need you to recognize.
I understand
I don't
it's
want to be
stupid,
mean.
but...
Okay, get rid of it.
No, never.
Why?
I will have a Jaguar until the day I die.
You got it at 9%, which is a interest rate anyway.
I know, interest rates suck right now.
Yeah, so maybe we don't get Jaguars at 20.
What would be cheaper than that? My Kia was more expensive than that.
Would be cheaper than it?
Mm-hmm.
What would be cheaper than it? A $10,000 car. A $10,000 car that, guess what, would not be luxurious in any way. It would get you... Stop! I'm answering your question.
Okay.
It would be a car that would get you from point A to point B safely for a couple years while you got your mess out of the way, started contributing and catching up on retirement, paid for school, paid off your collections, and then you get your car because you make a lot of money at your age, but you're not doing it right.
It makes sense.
You're around with your age. That's the car that you should have. You're 20. You don't need a Jaguar. You don't need a second Jaguar.
Okay. All right, we go into that. I know a guy personally, good dude. He's my age. He's a little bit older than me. He lives at home right now. He had a place of his own, got too expensive. Classic story. He owns 2 new cars. He owns a 2022 Dodge Ram. Maybe it's a 23. He might have sold them by now. I don't know. But at one point in his life, he had like a 2023 Dodge Ram, brand new, all the bells and whistles, like a $70,000 truck. And he owned like a new Cadillac CTS. He was probably spending over $2,000 a month just in car payments alone. I don't know what kind of interest he was paying on that, what kind of APR he got or whatever. I don't know what he was paying in insurance. I'm assuming something like that. He's probably paying $500 in insurance for both of them, maybe even more. But you got all that money. It's like, dude, do you want to move out of your parents' house or what? So many irresponsible fucking people. That's the thing you got to keep in mind. Yes, Americans are struggling, but a lot of people are bad with their money. I'm not to sound like a boomer, I know, but I just thought I'd share some of that stuff with you guys, some of these tips. I'll leave some links down in the description of this video. Just so we can go over that. Just try to be helpful, not to just say everything's fucked all the time. People get tired of that shit. But if you like this video, give it a like. Helps me in the algorithm. Leave a comment down below. Share the video if you like what you see. Subscribe, please. That would be great. But that's all I got for you guys for right now. Have a good rest of the week. I will talk to you guys. It's almost Friday. Yay. But I'll talk to you guys later.
Ryan Little.